Welcome to my channel, where the scariest stories come to life. Before we dive into today's chilling tale, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you never miss a story. Now, let's get into the horror. I've been living in apartment 302 for, almost 5 years now. 5 years of the same creaky radiator, the same view of the brick wall next door, the same goddamn sirens at 3 a.m. 5 years of solo living in the Big Apple, which, let me tell you, is a trip. My life summed up: I'm 28, I work for a company I don't like, and I basically live and die by my laptop. Some days are amazing, I'm cranking out work, and other days, well, I'm staring at a cursor, battling my mind, which wants me back in bed. Oh, and eating takeout, pad thai for the third night in a row. Pay the bills, though. Yep, rent in this city is a monster. Apartment 302 is, shall we say, enough. It's small, one bedroom, a living room that doubles as an office, a kitchen that barely holds a microwave, and a bathroom older than I am, that could only fit 2 people standing. I'm not joking. But it's mine. I plastered the walls with prints I like, crammed my bookshelves with paperbacks, and created a little sanctuary. It's cluttered, definitely, but it's my clutter. My social life? I have a few friends, mostly from college. We try to meet up for drinks or brunch, but everyone's busy, you know, living their lives, dating, careers, the whole shebang. I'm kind of in between things, not desperately looking for a partner, not hating being single, just coasting, I guess. Neighbors before him were mostly invisible, a young couple in 301 who argued a lot, an old lady in 304 who perpetually smelled of, let's just say, urine. We nodded in the hallway, maybe exchanged a polite hello, but that was it. New York, right? Everyone's in their own bubble. A guy moved into 303 about a month ago. I think his name is Andy or something. He's tall, skinny, with messy brown hair. He looks like he's straight out of a Scooby-Doo film. Probably my age, maybe a year or 2 older. He seemed nice enough at first. I saw him struggling with a massive box in the hallway and helped him lug it upstairs. Thanks. No problem. The usual New York dance. But then he started trying, like actually trying, to be friends. He'd catch me in the hallway and strike up conversation. Hey, how's it going? What are you working on? That's so cool. I love that stuff. At first, it was polite small talk, but then it got longer. He'd tell me about his day, his job, his writing. Yeah, he said he was a writer, short stories. Mostly. Honestly, it was a little overwhelming. I'm not used to people actually wanting to talk to me, especially not random strangers. I'm more of a hide in my apartment and avoid eye contact kind of gal. He even invited me over for drinks a couple of times, said he was trying to make his apartment feel less empty. I made excuses, too much work, already have plans. I felt bad, but I wasn't ready for that kind of neighborly interaction. He didn't seem to get the hint, though. Gave vibes that he had come from a smaller town. He'd leave little notes on my door. Hey, thought you might like this new coffee place down the street, or saw this cool art place. You should check it out with me. It was sweet, I guess, but also kind of weird. Like, dude, I'm a hermit. Leave me alone. I felt like a total jerk, but I just wasn't ready for a neighbor bestie. I like my space, my routine, my solitude. November 5th, 2024. Okay. Things just went from weird to terrifying. Last night, I was up late, as usual, trying to finish a design. About 2 a.m., I was finally hitting my stride. Music blasting, I was in the zone. Then I heard a loud noise. A scream. It came from next door, from Andy's apartment. Okay? I ripped my headphones off. Did I really just hear that? No, I wasn't listening to anything intense. But then there were more screams, sounds of gasping, heavy breathing, and then a bang, like a body or a box had been dropped. I hesitated for 2 seconds, then got up, knowing something was wrong, and ran to the door. I started pounding on 303. "Are you okay? Hello?" No answer, just faint moaning, weird gurgling noises. I tried the handle, unlocked. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. What I saw, I won't forget. He was on the floor in the middle of his living room, convulsing violently. His body was jerking and thrashing. His eyes were rolled back, and he was making horrible choking sounds. Then I saw it, white, thick, foamy stuff pouring out of his mouth, like pus. He was having a seizure, and it was bad. My mind went into overdrive. I'd seen seizures on TV, but never in real life. Protect their head, don't let them swallow their tongue. Call 911. My hands were shaking, but I forced myself to act. I grabbed a pillow from his couch and slid it under his head, trying to cushion it. He was still thrashing, still making those awful noises. The white foam kept bubbling out. I grabbed my phone, started the stopwatch, then dialed 911. I was shaking so bad I thought I'd pass out. I gave them the address, the apartment number, told them someone was having a seizure. I tried to stay calm, but inside, I was freaking out. While I was on the phone, his convulsions worsened. He was arching his back, his face turning red. I was terrified he'd stop breathing. The operator told me to stay with him, keep him from hurting himself. Easy for her to say. I knelt beside him, holding his hand, trying to reassure him, even though he couldn't hear me. "It's okay. Help is on the way. Just breathe." It felt like an eternity, but finally, I heard sirens. They were getting louder, and I prayed they were for him. They reached the building. Paramedics burst in, took over, strapping him to machines. They checked his vitals, hooked him up to oxygen. Do you know what happened? Any medical conditions? Medication? I didn't know. Just that he was my neighbor. They stabilized him, lifted him onto a stretcher. As they carried him out, his eyes flicked open. He looked right at me, eyes wide with confusion and fear. Then he lost consciousness again. They rushed him out. I stood there, in his messy living room, covered in I don't know what. My heart was pounding, my hands still shaking. The police arrived next. They took my statement, asked more questions. Everything about him, our relationship, why I was in his apartment. I told them the truth. Neighbors, trying to be friendly, heard screams, came to help. They seemed satisfied, but told me to stay in my apartment, not leave town. After they left, I took the longest, hottest shower of my life. I scrubbed myself raw, trying to erase the images, the feel of that stuff on my skin. I couldn't sleep. November 6, 2024. The police came by again this morning. He's still in the ICU, stable. They wouldn't tell me anything else. They asked more questions, digging into our non-relationship. They seemed suspicious, like he'd been poisoned. They thought I was hiding something. Later, I looked up seizures with white foam or white pus pouring out of mouth. Scary stuff about poisoning, rare medical conditions. None of it made sense. I feel weird, guilty. I spent the last month avoiding him, shutting him out, and then when he needed help, I was the only one there. Maybe I misjudged him. Maybe he was just a lonely guy. Regardless, I saved him. I don't want thanks, but I hope he's okay. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if he'll remember. I don't know if the police will come back. But I do know I need to stop hiding in my apartment and start living. Maybe I need to be more open to human connection. I need to apologize to him if he wakes up. In 2014, fresh out of high school, I was eager to ditch my small town and dive headfirst into university in Sweden, studying engineering. It sounded impossibly cool. My dad, a big shot with his own manufacturing company, details I always zoned out on, made it happen. He was well off, and I knew I owed him everything. He always wanted the best for me, even if it meant sending me halfway across the world. He insisted on paying my fees, no arguments. Consider it an investment in your future, Alex, he'd say, with that serious businessman look. But he also did something else that blew my mind. He bought me a house. Yeah, a freaking house in Sweden. No point in renting or sharing with a bunch of randos, he reasoned. You need a stable environment to focus on your studies. The house wasn't fancy, a small, detached place in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of Sidon, a university city. Cute, but old and needing updates. It had a small garden, enough space for me, and was a short bike ride to campus. I felt like I'd won the lottery. The first few months were bliss. I settled in easily, the locals were friendly, if reserved. The university was awesome, and I was genuinely enjoying the classes. I made friends, explored the city, and lived the student life. Everything was perfect. Then came the neighbor. He lived next door in an even older place, half buried under ivy. His name was Lars, and he was ancient, Gandalf without the magic staff. He was always pottering around his yard, waving at me. I always waved back, being polite. At first, it was just small talk, weather, gardening tips I promptly forgot, I have a black thumb, my studies. Nothing weird. He seemed like a lonely old dude, eccentric, but harmless. Then the notes started. The first was unusual, a handmade card with a tulip on the front. Inside, it said, "Welcome to the neighborhood, Alex. Hope you're enjoying your new home. Lars." Sweet, right? A little old-fashioned, but sweet. But the next one was different, creepy. Another handmade card, but this time with a drawing of a heart dripping blood. Inside, shaky handwriting read, "My heart yearns for you, Alex. You are a young god." Okay, that was too much. I tried to forget it, thinking he had a weird sense of humor. Maybe he was just misunderstood. Then came the poems. The poems were worse. They rhymed badly about my eyes, my youth, my virility. They were filled with bizarre metaphors about blooming flowers and raging seas. I won't repeat them, they're disgusting. Then he started leaving art. Crude drawings depicting acts I definitely wasn't interested in performing with a man old enough to be my great-grandfather. The details are seared into my brain. I threw them away, but the images lingered. I was seriously creeped out. Anxious about stepping outside. I locked my doors and windows, even during the day. My peaceful Swedish dream was turning into a nightmare. I didn't tell anyone at first, embarrassed, ashamed, like I was to blame. But the fear was eating me alive. Finally, I called my dad. "Dad," I said, "I need your help." I told him everything, the notes, the poems, the art. Silence on the other end, then a deep grunt. "Yeah." He chose some choice words, then said, "I'm coming over there." He booked the first flight. 2 days later, he stood on my doorstep, the intimidating CEO. He was big, and had a way of looking at people that made them uncomfortable. "All right, let's go have a chat with this Lars," he said. I was nervous as hell. This felt like a bad thriller. I reluctantly led him to Lars's house. Lars answered, confused when he saw my dad. His face flushed. "Alex, shut it," my dad said. "You've been harassing my son, sending him disgusting notes and drawings. You need to stop." Lars tried to deny it, but my dad wasn't having it. He waved the notes and drawings in Lars's face. "This is disgusting," he said, his voice rising. "You're a sick old man. If you so much as look at my son again, I'll call the police." Lars started to cry, mumbling about loneliness, about finding beauty in youth. Pathetic and disturbing. Then things went south. Lars, in a moment of insane desperation, lunged at my dad. A feeble punch easily dodged. My dad shoved Lars back. The old man went flying, lost his balance, and fell. Winded, terrified. He lay there, gasping, looking like my dad would keep going. My dad stood over him, disgusted. "I'm warning you," he said. "Stay away from my son." We left Lars on the ground, and didn't look back. The incident shook me. I felt violated, my sense of safety shattered in my dream house. My dad was furious, wanted to press charges, but I just wanted it over. "I can't stay here, Dad," I said that night. He understood. "All right," he said. "We'll sell the place." And we did. It sold quickly, with minimal loss. I packed my bags, said goodbye, and flew home with my dad. I finished my degree back home, a world away from the creepy old man and his disturbing art. I still think about Sweden, the beautiful landscapes, the friendly people. But I also think about Lars, and a shiver runs down my spine. The experience left a scar. I'm wary of old men now, more aware of my surroundings, less trusting of strangers. The dream I chased turned into a nightmare. But at least I got a good story out of it. Consider this my warning: be careful who you let into your life, even if they seem like a lonely old neighbor. You never know what kind of creepy art they're hiding. Thanks for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to give the video a like and leave a comment with your thoughts. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a terrifying tale. See you in the next one.